Before we begin, this is the second part of Karna's story. To watch the first part, check my channel. Now we can continue our story. As Kunti saw Karna's face, the dormant instincts of motherhood awakened within her. She drew the child close to her chest, holding him tightly as though she never wished to let go. She gently kissed his forehead, and tears flowed endlessly from her eyes, falling upon the innocent face of the newborn. For a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to dream. What if I could raise him as my own? What if she could watch him run through the corridors of the palace, his laughter echoing through its halls? What if she could see him grow, speak his first words, and call her mother? But reality was far more cruel than her dreams. Kunti knew all too well the disaster that would follow if the world discovered that this child was hers. The consequences would not fall upon her alone. She could not bear the thought of casting her father, King Kunti Bhoja, into a pit of humiliation and disgrace. And so, with a heart torn between a mother's love and the harsh demands of society, she stood before an impossible choice. She could not. With a heart weighed down like stone, Kunti made the most painful decision of her life. She would abandon her child. She would send him away upon the river, to a fate unknown, far from every eye that might recognize him. Calling upon her trusted companion, she ordered a large chest to be prepared. It was carefully crafted from wooden planks and sealed so that no water could enter. Inside, soft silk cloths were spread to cradle the infant in comfort. Night descended. The palace slowly surrendered to silence as every corridor and chamber fell into sleep. Before the final moment arrived, Kunti held her child close one last time and nursed him. The baby looked up at her with innocent eyes and smiled. That smile pierced her heart like a sharpened blade. How could a mother abandon the child she had carried within her? How could she turn away from the tiny soul that knew nothing of the world except her warmth and her love? Holding back her tears, she gazed upon him for what she feared would be the last time. My precious son, it is not because I do not want you. The words remained trapped within her heart, while the cruel hand of destiny pushed her toward a choice no mother should ever have to make. She walked toward the banks of the Ashwa river that flowed behind the palace. It was a night wrapped in darkness. The only sound that broke the silence was the gentle crashing of the river against the shore. With trembling hands and a heart shattered by grief, Kunti slowly lowered the wooden chest into the waters. The current caught it. Gradually, the small chest began to drift away. Kunti stood motionless upon the river bank, tears streaming down her face, watching it move farther and farther into the darkness. She remained there until the chest vanished completely from sight. She knew that a part of her own soul was floating away with those waters. The Ashwa river carried the infant onward. Small fish swam around the chest as though the river itself had accepted the divine child into its embrace. The moonlight danced upon the waters, while the gentle currents guided the infant toward an unknown destiny. Unseen by human eyes, destiny had already begun its work. The child abandoned by his mother was not being carried toward death. He was being carried toward the life that would one day make him one of the greatest warriors the world had ever known. From the Ashwa river, the little chest drifted into the Chalmanvati river. From there, it was carried into the sacred waters of the Yamuna, and at last, it reached the holy river Ganga. For many days, the infant remained upon the waters. Yet what happened during that journey seemed nothing short of a miracle. Not a single drop of water entered the chest. None of the creatures of the river caused any harm to the child within. It was as though the entire universe had joined together to protect him. During the day, Surya, the sun god himself, watched over his son. His golden rays warmed the little chest and shielded the infant from the cold. And when darkness covered the world, Vayu, the lord of the winds, arrived as a gentle breeze, rocking the child to sleep beneath the stars. Thus, under the protection of nature itself, the small chest continued its journey along the sacred waters of the Ganga. The rivers carried not merely an abandoned child, but a destiny ordained by the heavens. Drifting endlessly through the flowing waters, the chest finally approached the outskirts of Hastinpura. There, upon the banks of the sacred river, fate was preparing to introduce the child to the family that would raise him and give him a new life. At that very time, on the banks of the sacred Ganga, there lived a man named Adhirtha. He was the beloved charioteer of King Dhritarashtra, the great ruler of Hastinpura. Though he served in the royal court, Adhirtha chose to live a simple life, far removed from the grandeur and luxury of the palace. Yet behind his humble existence lay a deep sorrow. Years had passed since his marriage to his wife, Radha, but the couple remained childless. More than wealth, more than status, there was only one blessing they longed for, a child. They dreamed of hearing the laughter of a son or daughter echo through their home. They yearned for tiny footsteps, for innocent smiles, and for someone to call them father and mother. There was no prayer they had not offered, no vow they had not taken, and no deity before whom they had not bowed. Day after day, their home remained silent. The emptiness within those walls became a constant reminder of the blessing they had been denied. But destiny had already begun to answer their prayers. Far away, upon the sacred waters of the Ganga, a small wooden chest continued to drift toward them, carrying within it the child who would soon change their lives forever. The silence within their home had haunted them for years. On that fateful morning, before the break of dawn, Adhirtha had come to the banks of the Ganga to bathe and offer his prayers to the sun god. The sun had only just begun to rise. The eastern sky was painted with shades of crimson and gold, while the sacred waters of the Ganga shimmered beneath the first light of day. Immersing himself in the cold waters, Adhirtha emerged, closed his eyes, and offered his prayers to Surya. And then, suddenly, something caught his attention. Far out upon the river, an object was slowly drifting toward the shore. But this was no ordinary sight. A strange golden radiance seemed to emerge from it, glowing brightly against the gentle waters of the Ganga. Adhirtha stared in astonishment. Curiosity overcame him. Without hesitation, he stepped back into the river and began to swim toward the mysterious object, drawn by a force he could neither understand nor resist. Little did he know that destiny itself was floating toward him. And within that glowing chest lay the child who would one day become one of the greatest warriors in the history of the Mahabharata. Holding the mysterious child close to his chest, Adhirtha hurried back to his home. He knocked upon the door and called out in excitement, "Radha! Come quickly! Our prayers have been answered. Mother Ganga has blessed us with a son." Hearing his voice, Radha rushed outside. The moment her eyes fell upon the child, she stood frozen in astonishment. In an instant, the dormant love of motherhood awakened within her heart. Without a moment's hesitation, she took the infant into her arms and held him tightly against her chest. She covered his face with kisses, while tears of joy streamed down her cheeks. For years, her arms had longed to hold the child. And now, it felt as though the gods themselves had placed this divine gift in her embrace. The gentle radiance that shone from the infant's face seemed to drive away every shadow within their humble hut. The darkness that had filled their lives for so long suddenly disappeared. The child had been born adorned with celestial golden ornaments and divine armor. And so, they gave him the name Vasusena, the one born possessing heavenly wealth and golden treasures. Neither Adhirtha nor Radha knew that the child they had adopted was destined to become one of the greatest warriors the world would ever know. The abandoned son of Kunti had finally found a home. Motherly affection filled their humble home, and the days slowly passed. The child adorned with the golden armor and celestial earrings became a source of wonder among the Sutas. People from nearby settlements began visiting the small hut simply to see the extraordinary boy. They whispered among themselves, "This child is no ordinary human. There is something divine within him." Everyone stood amazed at the sight of the armor that seemed to be fused to his body from birth. The radiant earrings that adorned his ears appeared unlike anything seen in the mortal world. But to Radha, none of these things mattered. She did not see a divine child. She saw only her son. She held him close to her heart and lulled him to sleep in her arms. She sang gentle songs for him and fed him with her own hands. The years of emptiness that had once filled her life had vanished. Now, her world revolved entirely around the little boy she called her own. Outside their home, the sounds of horses and chariots often echoed through the streets, for Adhirtha served as the royal charioteer of Hastinapura. The young child grew up amidst the sounds of galloping horses, creaking wheels, and the tales of warriors and kings. Unknowingly, destiny was already shaping his path. The boy who had drifted through the sacred rivers in a wooden chest was now growing under the loving care of Radha and Adhirtha. And though the world knew him as the son of a charioteer, the blood of the sun god still flowed within his veins. One day, that hidden truth would shake the very foundations of the Mahabharata itself. Adhirtha dreamed that his son would one day follow in his footsteps and become a charioteer. He patiently taught the boy how to control horses, how to guide a chariot across the battlefield, and how to repair its wheels and harnesses. Among the children of the Suta community, the usual toys were small whips and wooden chariots. They played by pretending to drive horses and serve great kings. Adhirtha lovingly crafted such toys for his son as well. But Vasusena's heart longed for something entirely different. Those simple toys failed to capture his imagination. His fingers did not yearn to hold the reins of horses. The child in whose veins flowed the blood of kings and the radiance of the sun god was destined for something far greater. Whenever he heard stories of warriors and battles, his eyes would shine with an unusual fire. The sound of chariot wheels did not stir his soul as much as the clash of weapons and the glory of the battlefield. Deep within him, an unknown calling had already begun to awaken. The world believed him to be the son of a charioteer. But destiny had written a different path for him. Naturally, his heart was drawn toward weapons. He cast aside the little whips that other children cherished. Instead, he ventured into the forests, cutting slender bamboo stalks and tying them together with vines to fashion small bows of his own. No one had taught him. No master had guided his hands. Yet his fingers seemed to know the bowstring as though they had known it for lifetimes. While the other children played with wooden chariots, pretending to be charioteers, Vasusena wandered through the woods with his tiny bow and arrows. He aimed at the leaves swaying upon distant branches. He practiced striking wild fruits hanging from trees. Again and again, his arrows found their mark. It was as if the art of archery had been born within him. From a distance, Adhirtha watched his son in silence. Every shot filled him with both wonder and unease. For he knew the harsh truth of the world they lived in. A son of the Suta caste was expected to drive chariots, not wield weapons. The bow belonged to princes. The battlefield belonged to warriors. And yet, in the hands of his young son, the bow seemed not like a toy, but a destiny. Slowly, a great fear began to grow within the father's heart. For Adhirtha realized that the path his son desired to walk was not the path society had chosen for him. He knew that his son was growing up in a community that had no right to bear arms. The thought haunted him day and night. What answer would he give if one day the boy asked for a weapon? Years passed. It was the very age at which the princes of the royal palace began their training in the art of warfare under the guidance of Kripacharya. The young princes of Hastinapura were learning archery, swordsmanship, and the skills of warriors. One day, the little boy walked beside Adhirtha, holding his father's hand as they crossed the palace courtyard. Suddenly, his eyes were drawn toward a vast training ground on one side of the palace. There, the royal princes were practicing their martial arts. Bows bent. Arrows flew through the air. Targets trembled as shafts struck them with precision. The sounds of bowstrings echoed across the grounds. Vasusena stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened with wonder. The world around him seemed to disappear. He watched the princes draw their bows, release their arrows, and train under the watchful eyes of their teacher. Something deep within him awakened. It was not curiosity. It was recognition. As though his soul had finally found what it had been searching for all along. The young boy stood there, unable to move, while the fire of a warrior slowly began to ignite within his heart. Without even blinking, the young boy stood there, completely captivated by the sight before him. And then, suddenly, one of the arrows missed its target and landed only a few steps away from where he stood. Something stirred within him. An irresistible excitement compelled him forward. He ran toward the arrow and carefully picked it up. For the very first time in his life, he held a real arrow in his hands. A strange shiver passed through his entire body. He examined it with wonder, the sharp metal tip, the perfectly crafted shaft, and the feathers fixed at its end. Every detail seemed magical to him, as though the weapon had been waiting for his touch. At that moment, the world around him disappeared. There was only the arrow. Only the feeling that this object somehow belonged in his hands. But before he could understand the emotions rising within him, a palace guard came rushing toward him. His voice cut through the silence. "What are you staring at, boy?" The guard looked at the child standing there with the arrow in his hands. And in that very moment, the invisible walls of society, the walls that separated a prince from a charioteer's son, began to rise before young Vasusena for the first time. "Put that down." The guard's voice thundered across the training ground. "Who are you to touch this weapon?" What right do you have to hold an arrow? Before the frightened child could answer, the guard snatched the arrow from his hands and violently pushed him to the ground. Vasusena's wrist struck the hard earth. Blood began to trickle from the wound. At that very moment, Adhirtha came running. With folded hands, he apologized to the guard and quickly pulled the little boy away from the training ground before any further humiliation could fall upon him. The journey home was silent. But the wound upon the child's hand hurt far less than the wound that had been inflicted upon his heart. That evening, Vasusena lay with his head resting upon Radha's lap. Unable to hold back his tears, he wept. Mother, I only touched the arrow. Why did they push me away? Why did they treat me like that? His innocent eyes searched for an answer. An answer that neither Radha nor Adhirtha could give. After a long silence, the little boy spoke once more. Mother, I want to learn it too. I want to learn archery. Those simple words pierced the hearts of his parents. Because they knew the cruel truth of the world. The desire burning within the child was not forbidden because he lacked talent. It was forbidden because of the family into which the world believed he had been born. Yet the fire that had awakened within Vasusena could no longer be extinguished. For the boy who had merely touched an arrow that day had discovered his destiny. And no force in the world, not birth, not society, nor even fate itself, would be able to keep him away from the bow for long. Karna felt humiliated for the first time. What will be his fate? What else will he has to face in the future? Will he gets continued to be humiliated everywhere as he was a Sutaputra? We will see what his fate beholds in the coming parts and how he became the greatest warrior the world has ever seen. Wait until next part and stay subscribed to our channel to know when the next part gets uploaded. See you later and please don't forget to subscribe.